And this is why this is sort of the town centre, the original square, as it were, with our smithy over here, our original. Well, greetings everyone, and welcome back to a special episode 37 technically, but a special episode nonetheless, and one that I'm calling a tour. And it's going to be a short episode. We're not going to build anything today, and rather what we're going to do is we're going to take a little look around this here town that we've built over the last 36 episodes preceding this one. And if you're interested, up in the corner should be a little link that'll pop that'll take you through to the playlist, and you can watch the entire playthrough. If you haven't, there's almost 20 hours of it, but it'll show you how we got to the stage. And I thought I'd take a few minutes to sort of show you around town, kind of what we've built, what our plans were, where we might still plan to go if we return at some stage. And as always, at this stage, I'd like to encourage you to leave a comment below if you have anything to say. Hit that like button. And subscribe, please. Would always appreciate that. So, without a further ado, here is a tour. So this here is what you can see on the screen at the moment is essentially the center of town, really. Our sort of metropolitan center. This was actually the site of the original camp. So probably where good old Harulaw, which I'm still very bad at pronouncing these names, was walking there, was probably where the campsite was, where the logs were. And this was actually I think the close to where the original well was. It's not the original well, but it was close to where the original well was. It was moved at some point when the trading post was constructed here. So yeah, this is the middle of town. Over here we have our town center. We still have the same mayor. So good old Vestergaard here, who is now 60 years old, he was the mayor of this town 36 years ago when it was settled, and he is still the mayor. And Utley is actually our second councillor. Our first one died, I think, unfortunately. And they have been very successful at managing things like seasonal hiring and migration, etc. And as always, Vestergaard lives over here, and that will give you a clue that this is the first house that we ever built in this here town. And look at that, it has grown into a very valuable piece of property directly across the bridge, which I will talk about just now, but we'll stay on the side of the river for now. So yeah, this was the original row of housing over here that was built. This came soon after. And this is why this is sort of the town centre, the original square, as it were, with our smithy over here, our original forester's cabin, and our carpentry over here. This is a reforestation area that cropped out over here. The old forest, at one point this was all forest. Second log cabin over here. We used to have a lot of hay stored here at one stage, but that got eaten through very quickly when we had a cow experiment a few years back. And over here we have the first of our farms, I think. I can't remember if this one here or this one was our first farm. One of the two. Either way, these are our two first farm areas that kind of cropped up with our windmills that supported the wheat production that was coming out of them. And I particularly like this area here, how we designed these trees, etc. along this bank to kind of blend in and make it look really rural. I think these were our first hay dryers were out this end of the world. We eventually constructed a bridge out here to just dry hay on this side of the river. It was never really the intention to begin with, but we needed hay, so this just ended up became a hay drying area. We do have a trading dock planned over here. It has never ever been built. Maybe one day the plans shall be approved by the head town hall, and that shall be built. But for now, the trading dock is actually over here, our main trading dock. It's very busy, as you can see. There's always boats coming in and out. I think we've got a shipment of honey at the moment. We're very, very big river traders. And as you can see, we always have fishermen out and about in this town. These are very productive, these fishing docks along here. These guys here produce salt. These two here produce only dried fish, these two, which is very useful. It helps us keep our dried fish counts way up. You can see they're 1,470 at the moment. Stable food income sources. These guys here are more into raw fish production, and I really particularly like the way, after we did all the detailing, the forest kind of sits up around the frontier. It gives a really nice river frontage. These around here are all mainly fishing cottages of people who work at the fishing docks along here. The wives are generally unemployed. Yeah, we'll get back to this area just now. We did kind of expand out into this rural area out here, which eventually actually became quite suburban, to be honest. This is probably our most suburban section of town, pure suburbia, if you will. If this is the inner town, this is Suburbia. And I think that's earmarked by this very big church that we constructed out here in the center, with a lovely graveyard out the back. And then the farmlands kind of extend this way, out this way. We've got kind of this row of housing. This is kind of a later build out here, this row of houses, but they support much of this farmland out here, as well as the slaughterhouse and the tannery that sits out this end of the world. And the slaughterhouse sits over here because over here we have rather a large number of cow sheds, which, as you can see after our great cow experiment, are rather empty. You can go back into the Let's Play series and have a look at what happened with our great cow experiment. At the moment, this is the only really full shed. There are 8 of them. We're kind of breeding our cow stock up at the moment. But we do have lots of space once our cows do arrive again, and they normally use fallow fields to herd them, pasture themselves in during the summer. We are, however, apart from the cows, very successful at chicken farming. We have 5 chicken coops set out here at the moment, and a further 2 over here that are not operational at the moment, but will be in the future when our chicken operations expand. And this out here is our wagon shed. And this wagon shed is sitting out here purely because there is a lot of stuff that comes from these farms that generally needs to be spread out. And I think more wagon sheds will be built out this end of the world at some point too. So this wagon shed kind of services this side of the island. Right, yeah, and then here's, by the way, this is our stable. So this is where our horses live. They're also breeding at the moment because we are also looking to turn more of them into draft horses and get a few more wagons out and about. Right, let's hop over the river. Oh, before we do that, I just want to show you this. This is probably one of my favorite parts of town, actually. This is the first chapel we built out here on the corner of the river, and I just think it looks pretty idyllic with the graveyard. I mean, graveyards, it's hard to say a graveyard's idyllic, but there you go. Idyllic it looks. Right, over the river, we kind of expanded out over the river with these kind of waterfront property houses, which I really like. They look really good out here along the water. Many of them, as I said, have fishermen living in them, but out behind this row of houses, which is very much along the riverfront, etc., we did start developing another sort of industrial area, I think mainly underpinned by this area here, which is our lime kiln, our stone mining camp, and our lime works. And the stone mining camp fetches lime from out over here. There's some lime deposits out there, and there's still some stone lying out here, which is occasionally collected. It's obviously got its own charcoal burning pits as well, to help with the fueling of resources over to that lime kiln. And obviously that lime then goes out to the tannery out here. Major supply of leather was coming out from the slaughterhouse, which is why the tannery popped out over here. We do have a second slaughterhouse that popped up over here that only does pigs, it only does pork, because we are expanding out over here with pigsties that shall be built out along here eventually, and we shall have lots of pork coming out this side, which is our next and our central farming area. And I think this will end up probably being our largest farming area. You're probably going to find farming expanding all out along here eventually, with suburbs extending up this hill, is probably what the plan is. But yeah, that is the tour. That is 10 minutes of where we are in Ostriv, and I'm going to kind of park up here. Kind of gives a good scale of what we built. And I'd love to eventually one day build out onto this island as well, make a loop around here. I can see a bridge coming across here. But yeah, this is essentially what we built. And like I said, we shall probably return to the game as the developer and the team release new patches and new content. We shall come back and probably jump back into the city see what those things have to offer us. But for now, we shall leave Ostriv. You can check out the full Let's Play series if you want to go back and see what this looked like right from the beginning till now. Watch the whole thing. It is entertaining, even if I say so myself. I also have a tip guide, a small little tip guide if you want to learn some things that we learned along the way. I've condensed them into short videos. There's a little playlist around that. They should all be popping up on the screen at some point, little cards for you to click through to. Yeah, and as always, thank you for joining me. I'm the Beard, and I'll see you around. Signing off.